Hello. Today I wanted to take a few minutes and talk about a form that is now required for us to show property. I know there's a lot of confusion about it. It actually took place back last August. NAR, or the National Association of Realtors, put this into precedence last August, that it is now a requirement because of transparency, that realtors have an agreement made, a buyer's agency agreement made with buyers, prospective buyers, who are going to see properties. They have to have them sign a buyer's agency agreement with them before they can show property. Now that looks a little different depending on the state, depending on the agency. For our agency, I am with Coldwell Banker Premier Group, and for our agency we have to have what is called a buyer's exclusive agency contract signed before we are legally able to show property. Now this has been kind of a sticky situation in some instances, and what I mean by that is I have actually had people walk away and not go see property with me just because they don't want to sign anything. And can I just say, I totally get it. I understand. Nobody wants to sign something that they haven't, they haven't got to have a relationship yet with this person. They don't know this agent. They don't know what this person is capable of. They don't want to sign anything because that's scary. But I want to I just wanted to get on here and explain a little bit about this buyer's agency, even though it's been in effect since last year, but it still comes up from time to time. But it's really not as scary as it sounds. All right, so let me just kind of walk you through it. So the buyer's agency is really there for the buyer's protection as well as the agent's protection, because it outlines the responsibilities of the buyer. It also, such as, let me give you an example, like providing financial documents that we're going to need if you decide to put an offer in on a house. We're going to need various financial documents that you're going to have to provide, that sort of thing. As far as the agent goes, it outlines the tasks of the agent. We're going to take you to see properties that fit within your budget, within your what you've been pre-approved for. We are going to do the best of our ability to help you find that home that you're looking for. All right, there's many other things. Those are just, that's just a few things. But what it also does is it protects. So it says here in the on the first page, I'm just going to kind of walk page by page, but the first page we just list your name. So we're saying that you're the buyer, that you're appointing my brokerage, Coldwell Banker Premier Group, to represent you. The type of property sought, so whether it be residential or investment or commercial, we list that. And then we ask if you are a party of to another buyer's agreement. So are you being represented by somebody else? Because obviously we can't represent you if you are being represented by another agent. So we ask that, and we have to put that on here, yes or no, if you're being represented by another agent. Then there's a term section. So we can put on here as long or short. We can do just a one showing buyer's agency agreement. We'll take you to see this one house. You sign that, it's just a one-time showing. We can also, if you agree that you want to work with me or with us as agents, we can decide, okay, well, we'll put down 3 months. And then after 3 months, if we haven't found what you're looking for and you're not satisfied, then you're free to walk. You're free to go somewhere else, find another agent. These things are all negotiable. We can change these at any time. All right, meaning we, as in me, the agent, and you, in our agreement, if you decide, well, I want to do it a shorter time period, we can definitely change that. There's a protection period. As far as, say, I take you to see a house on Monday, and you really like it, but then on Tuesday you decide, I don't really want to work with you anymore, all right? And then you go and find another agent and go take that agent back to that house and write an offer. There is a time period, a protection period for me, because I just showed you the house. All right, so I took my time to show you this house, to find this house and take you there and take you through it. And so that protects me as far as if something should come up that you get another agent within that time period, then there needs to be some kind of compensation for that. All right, and then compensation as a whole, because we are trying to be transparent. That's NAR's whole thing, is that they want us to be transparent with what we receive as our compensation. And so we put here, and I'm just going to read this to you, that this is the broker compensation portion. Buyer enters into a contract to acquire any type of real estate described above, whether through services of broker, buyer, or any other broker or person during the term. Broker shall be due and payable at closing. All right, now here's where we put our percentage. We put our percentage, or a flat fee, or however we're charging. We put our percentage rate there, and here it goes on, and it says, buyer agrees that the compensation above is the voluntary knowing choice of buyer. All right, so what happens is, if we take you to see a house, you fall in love with it, and seller, you write an offer, and seller decides they are not going to offer compensation, then that falls on the buyer's shoulders. Someone has to pay. When you go to work in a job, you do the work and you expect to get a paycheck at the end of the week or at the end of the month, however that works, right? You don't just do it for fun. You don't just do it for free. It does take work. You're putting in your effort. And so your compensation is spelled out here. This is negotiable. Again, everything is negotiable, but we put a fee here just to we put our general fee. This is what we generally require for our compensation. But again, the agent and the buyer can work that out. And if seller chooses not to offer compensation towards the buyer's agent, then that falls into the lap of the buyer. The buyer then is responsible. Now here's the caveat of that. You don't have to buy that house. If you don't have the money to pay the buyer's agency fee, then you don't have to buy that house. There are other houses on the market. So that is just how that works. Now there is a section for additional compensation. Typically there is no additional compensation. With me, there is rarely ever, never additional compensation, so we don't ever put anything there. Dual agency consent. All right, are you okay with me being a dual agent? What is a dual agent? Well, a dual agent is if, say, I have a listing and I take you, because I'm representing you as the buyer, but I'm also representing the seller who has this home that is listed with me, but I take you as a buyer to see this home that I have listed. That's being a dual agent. Are you okay with that? Do you feel like I can be fair and work on both sides? That is what that is asking. And then designated agency. This just says that I put my name there, is appointed as your designated agent. All right, so you are agreeing to work with me for that time period that we put on the front of the contract. And then I also list one of my partners or someone in my office, so that if, God forbid, something happened to me, someone else who is very capable could step in and help you finish that deal. All right, and then if there's any special agreements, we put those in there. This contract goes on and it talks about what buyer is agreeing to do. Again, well, here, let me just read this to you. Number 1, to refer information buyer may receive during the term of this agency contract for the type of property sought from any source to broker, to avoid the possibility of confusion over agency relationship and misunderstandings about liability for compensation. To work exclusively with the broker to identify and acquire the type of property sought during the term of agency contract. To comply with the reasonable requests of broker to supply any financial or personal data to make themselves reasonably available and responsive to all purposes of this contract. To consult with a broker before visiting any new or existing properties. To not enter into another exclusive buyer representation that conflicts with this contract. All right, and it just goes on. It gives you a list of things that the buyer is responsible to do. But then it also gives, you know, various different things, different topics, like if there's a failure to close, you know, if it doesn't close, are you still responsible for that fee? And the answer is no. In no case shall broker be obligated to advance funds if such transaction fails to close because of any fault on the part of the buyer, and such compensation will not be waived but will be due and payable immediately. All right, if it's on the buyer's fault, then it would be due. But if it's fault to no one, then it is not due. All right, so that it just talks, it breaks down different things there in the contract. And then we have you sign it, and our broker signs it. And then it gives several pages here of the obligations of the listing or the buyer's agent. That would be me. You know, like what are my tasks? So, for instance, to perform the terms of any written agreement made with the client, to exercise reasonable skill and care for the client. To promote the interests of the client with the utmost good faith, loyalty, and fidelity. You know, and it just goes on and gives what I am supposed to do. So this is protecting both you and me. All right, so that is basically it. And like I said, the entire thing is negotiable. We can always come back to the table if you feel like you do not want to work with me or you don't want to work with the agent that you're working with. You can take that back to the table and say, I don't want to work with you any longer. And they will have a way of you to get out of that agreement. All right, so it is not as scary as people make it out to be. So when you, as the buyer, are going to, you're starting this relationship with an agent and they ask you to sign up front a buyer's agency agreement, don't freak out. It really will be okay. It is just a protection mechanism saying you're going to work with me, you're agreeing to work with me for this time period. It's all negotiable. This is my fee typically. If for some reason the seller is not going to pay for my fee, then this would be up to you to pay. All right, so we're telling you that up front. You do not have to buy the house. All right, so that is that in a nutshell. Just thought I would clarify. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. All right, bye-bye.